Who would have thought that you shouldn't put hot tea on leather? That's
You know what?
so strange.
I don't need this kind of negativity from you. Bless and
I'm
release.
practical life pro tips. Don't put hot liquids on leather for extended periods.
Oh, is that what this is?
Or just like any part of your body, or really just a lot of things besides like a proper receptacle. It seems like hot liquids would generally be kind of damaging.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, what else do we do here besides, improve people's lives with valuable information and nerd stuff?
I mean, I don't know any other.
So January is a weird-ish month for news. It seems like you get a whole bunch and then things kind of swing in another direction.
Yeah, I'm kind of noticing that.
Right? We still have quite a few things to cover today. But
not all of it good.
Yeah. Let's not talk about
Yeah,
the state of the
we'll get
world, okay? This is
We'll get there.
Okay. So, diving in, interesting news about Twitch this week. Couple of things, but we'll start off with this one first. Twitch is diving into more traditional TV. They have done a deal with Warner Media, specifically Turner Sports. So it's a sports focused channel or brand in the Warner Media umbrella. And they're setting up a series that they're calling Eleague Super Punch. And it will air both on TV and on Twitch. So it basically looks like kind of a variety show covering highlights of stuff that was on Twitch.
It feels like a G4 rehash.
It kind of does.
Like
definitely. Oh, yeah. Which it's funny you mentioned that because Alex Correa is one of the hosts and he was doing an attack show on Twitch with Kevin Pereira from G4. So, like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon is the 7 degrees of G4.
I guess they wanted familiar faces for it to kind of ease into it.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. I get it. So the plan is that they're going to spotlight noteworthy, and I'm using air quotes here, noteworthy Twitch creators, cover news across the broader gaming and eSports spheres, and feature interactive elements. I will say, based on the trailer that they put out, it looks like fairly good production quality. It looks like they, are putting something into it to make it look good. They're also saying that it'll be starting off with a 3-hour block on Twitch, and then it'll transition to TBS for an hour it'll start on Twitch for an hour, go to TBS for an hour, and then come back to Twitch for an hour.
Which that's my hang up right there.
It's really weird.
Why? There's no point. That's just going to throw everyone off because they're going to finish that first hour on Twitch. They're going, we'll see you guys on TBS.
Right.
No, you won't. Fuck that.
Lots of people who watch Twitch don't watch traditional TV. They don't even have cable. We don't. So that's weird. But my guess is they're trying to bring in new eyes. So maybe people who would watch.
I get the intent. I get the intent. The execution is what's off.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially because it's like start in one place, go to another, and then come back to the first place.
How I would do it is like Monday to Thursday, exclusively Twitch. Cool. Don't change that. Perfect. Friday, air all 3 hours on both platforms, Twitch and TBS.
Right.
So that way people on TBS are seeing, like maybe there's some chat interaction, or maybe
Right.
there's some stuff going on in the Twitch chat that like, hey, we've got this giveaway going on. Go to the Twitch chat and enter this keyword in to enter into the raffle. People like, what's Twitch? Let me go check this out.
Right.
That would be smart.
Yeah.
But
Or
instead,
at
they're
the
going.
very least, like start on TBS and then go to Twitch and be like, it's the after show thing or whatever. But don't do the ping
something.
pong back and forth thing.
I feel like that's going to be quickly changed after a couple.
I agree. I don't think that's going to last.
Meetings.
I don't think that's going to last. So they're doing that. Something else interesting to note. So in this trailer that they put out for the show to promote it and everything, they used a lot of clips from current streamers.
Mm-hmm.
And at least of the one or two instances of some of the people's clips that they used, those people were not aware that that was a thing that was going to happen. They didn't find out until the trailer went out and people were like, hey, did you know you were in this thing? And
yeah, that's true.
Granted, it is on Twitch's platform. These were partners. So, there's probably some stipulation of their contracts that Twitch can use like their clips to promote in various ways. But it seems like in this type of forum, especially when it's going to be on traditional broadcast TV and, they're using it to promote this special thing, they would have at least given those folks a heads up. So I'm hoping that maybe this was just a one-off, and for future stuff, they might kind of let them know. I don't know. I mean, good for the people who end up getting featured, because that could potentially be really good for their channels. But if nobody ends up going to Twitch, then maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, the whole thing just seems fucking weird.
I applaud them for trying something different and trying to push Twitch into other areas. I don't know. This feels a little disjointed to do the whole back and forth thing between platforms. So more to come there.
Backfire. Like I said, they're gonna have some like really rushed meetings directly afterward and go, okay, this isn't working.
Yeah, there just can't be any way that they're not gonna make changes. So the show is supposed to launch on Twitch beginning February 3rd, and it will start airing on TBS for the first time on February 21st. So,
well, we got some time.
Yeah. Maybe they'll try to work out kinks while it's on Twitch before it goes to TBS, is the thinking there.
That's not much time to work out kinks.
I mean, it's a few weeks, so yeah. And if they're doing it Monday through Thursday, well, technically Monday through Friday, but
they'll get some like live on air airing out of like, oh shit, this isn't working. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So Monday through Thursday will be 3 hours on Twitch, and then Fridays will be hour on Twitch, hour on TBS, hour on Twitch.
We'll see.
You might have to have like a little card next to you to remind you where to watch this stuff because of the back and forth nature of it, but that's a thing.
I mean, I'm probably not even gonna watch it anyway because like I have no interest in like esports.
Yeah, well, the people who they featured on this trailer weren't all esports people. Like one of them was Nega Oryx, who's very much a variety broadcaster.
Like, if you brand it as Eleague, like that
I know. Well, that was my first impression too. Was okay, so it's esports stuff. Not interested. And then I watched the trailer and saw the clips that they included, and I was like, oh, wait. All right.
Maybe I'll tune in and see what's going on with it.
I mean, I'll watch it, but maybe, a couple of times just to see, but I don't necessarily see that being a thing that I would do long term.
Me neither.
Also,
but then again, we do this podcast weekly, so
right. Also, in the world of streaming, YouTube has signed an exclusive deal with Activision Blizzard to have the streaming rights for basically various esports franchises that are
Two of the
tied to
biggest
Activision.
esports franchises.
Two of the biggest, Call of Duty and Overwatch. And then also Hearthstone, which is, I'm sure it has an audience, but clearly it's not going to be as big as Overwatch. But
It's a little bigger than the Stardew Valley, fan base.
eSports League. There actually is
Which
one.
is not to like down talk it. I fucking love me some Stardew Valley, man. But it's definitely niche.
It's a definitely niche. So it's a multi-year partnership. Previously, Twitch had this deal for 2 years, and that contract recently expired. So, of course, there were questions on who was going to get it. And YouTube's been making some pretty big moves in trying to bring people over to the streaming side. They've signed some creators recently who've been pretty well known, especially like 100 Thieves esports people, or I don't know if they're totally esports. They do a little like creative or content creator focused stuff where they're not necessarily esports people, but they're part of 100 Thieves. So they're definitely putting some money into bringing people over to the platform and trying to build their base. They still got rid of the separate YouTube gaming app. I don't know that that's ever going to be a thing that comes back, but they're putting money into it still, so not dead yet.
I don't know. I still take issue because, okay. So anyone who pays attention to my Twitter for longer than 5 minutes knows that I have some very strong opinions about a lot of things.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually like one of the small reasons why I quit streaming is because I wanted the ability to voice fuck I want to say on Twitter, and I knew that I would, lose viewership over that. So I was like, yeah, all right, cool. But I am not a fan at all of like monopolies and massive tech giants that really have no competition. Like, because when it comes to uploading videos, YouTube has no competitors.
No, there are places where you can upload videos, but they're not true competitors.
But there's no way any of them pose any sort of threat to YouTube as a platform.
No.
Despite the fact that YouTube treats its creators worse than dog shit.
Because they can.
Yeah, because who's going to stop them?
Right.
They're still making money either way.
Right.
So I take issue with this because this to me is just another rung on the ladder of trying to consolidate as much as possible. Like it's not out of any sense of, oh well, we want to see this brought to the forefront, or oh, we want to see this esports league mature. Because I mean they're teaming up with freaking Activision Blizzard.
Right.
They're only slightly better than EA. Like, and that's saying something. So I don't know. To me, it feels like.
Look, I don't think any of these streaming platforms at this point are like, oh, we're trying to do it for the community and for the culture, whatever.
It's all about the bottom line.
It is.
It's all about, and that's the problem. Is I still, and maybe it's just nostalgia giving me rose tinted glasses about it, but I remember a time when the gaming community was, and the gaming community has always been at odds about fucking everything.
Right.
But there was still a passion to it. There was still, people got into game design because they were passionate about the art form and they wanted to help create things. And like my son wants to be a game, like he dreams of being working at Bungie and working on projects there. Like he's organizing his school path to nail that.
Okay.
But it I don't know. It is the gaming community used to be passionate about telling stories, telling good stories, and immersing people in these worlds. And now it's become, what can we make that will cost the least amount of money, check the most amount of boxes to make the largest amount of profit?
So I agree if we're talking about a big studio, but smaller
indie studios, totally different story.
Yeah, I think it's just like with anything else where
that's
once
why I
it
kind of
grows,
mostly play indie games now.
Yeah, Yeah. I think it's like anything else where once it grows and it achieves more mainstream status and people start seeing that there's money in it, then that tends to drive what happens with it. If you look just at streaming, a few years ago, streaming was still very niche. I mean, technically it is kind of still niche, but
It
it's
still is, but, like, if you're not it's like a lot of things. If you're not in this world, you're gonna be like, "Who?"
what's that?
Yeah, like, that's
But
why I always hate big dick Twitch partners who are like, "Do you know who the fuck I am? You're goddamn no one outside of this world,
right?
so why are you step off."
Yeah, like within certain arenas people might know who you are, but otherwise,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't ask me to treat you like a goddamn celebrity, dude.
But that aside, it is more popular and gaining in popularity now versus where it was 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, it's still it's getting slowly into the mainstream. It's not there, it's getting there,
Right.
but it's still if you're not a gamer and or if you're not already in this little bubble, you have no idea.
Yeah. But a lot of that growth and that change in the culture came with the purchase by Amazon. And
Yeah.
so you've got Amazon fueling Twitch, you've got Google behind YouTube, you've got Microsoft behind Mixer. There's the Facebook is Facebook. So you've got all these massive companies. We know what they're trying to do is make more money.
Yeah.
And they see an opportunity and they're trying to capitalize on it. So all of this right now is just plays for market share.
Yeah, that's fair.
So does it benefit anyone other than the companies that are going to make money? In my opinion, not really. People, if somebody was interested in watching Overwatch League, they're going to watch it wherever it's streaming. They're not going to be like, oh, well, it's not on Twitch, I'm not going to watch it. So,
Yeah.
and on the other side of that, somebody who likes to be on YouTube isn't going to be like, suddenly, oh, Overwatch League is here. Well, now I'm definitely going to watch it. They were probably already on YouTube anyway. Maybe they might watch it now because it's something there that they can watch, but they were probably going to be on YouTube regardless. So,
I mean, yeah, but it's like I said, that's just my take on it. Especially with me kind of stepping back from the gaming community at large lately. I just
mhm.
I have little to no investment in it.
Right.
So, I don't know. But I'm a jaded motherfucker, so take that with a grain of salt.
I am a little bit saddened by the loss of community that I personally feel like has kind of happened with Twitch and streaming platforms in general. I think there's still pockets of it that exist, but it definitely doesn't feel like it used to. But again, that comes with anything as it grows and becomes more popular. That's just a thing that happens. And you have to adjust to the influx of people and more trolls and all kinds of stuff. But either way, I think this just is probably more of a sign of things to come with things passing back and forth. I don't know if there's ever going to be an ultimate winner like there was with YouTube.
I don't know.
Because now you've got these big players fueling these platforms. Before, when you talk YouTube or other video platforms back in the day, it was small companies, and they were trying to build and grow in popularity, and YouTube eventually went out and got Google-fied and everything,
And now they're the devil.
right.
I'm sorry, that's insulting to the devil. What am I saying?
So, it's not exactly the same as it was like in the olden days of the internet where everything was, just small platforms competing. Now it's like, there might be a small platform that builds something cool, but then somebody big is going to swoop in and buy them and become part of the conglomerate, and
they're going to buy them up before they get too big.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the way of
that's
the
by
internet
design.
these days.
That is by design.
Well, in the vein of buying things, if you've
Oh yeah, let's
heard of
rage more.
Tencent, they're a massive company with a stake in so many things, a lot in
Pretty much,
gaming.
yeah. Like they own or have a stake in like what 40% of the entire gaming industry,
Something like that.
somewhere around there.
It's some crazy number.
It's stupid.
If I can say anything about this company is that they are very good at making investments and seeing things that are worth putting money toward and helping them grow. Like if you look at Epic Games, they earlier in the decade or last decade, I guess now, they invested in Epic Games, and then there was the whole shift to how they managed licensing with Unreal, and that became free. And then they grew Paragon, and then Fortnite when it was the PvE
Yeah.
game,
So
and all of this stuff.
They own 100% of Riot Games.
They do, and they
They have
have
a
like a
40% stake in
40%
Epic
share.
Games.
Yeah. So, but if you look at like the rise of Epic, that infusion of cash allowed them to grow significantly over these last several years, to the point that they could then create this Fortnite battle royale, and now they have their own store and stuff. That company significantly grew after that Tencent investment. So you can certainly say that they've enabled things beyond just, making purchases that help their bottom line. But yeah, they own Riot. Now they're looking to own Funcom, who makes Conan Exiles. And they're actually, this ties back to a previous episode, they're working on a Dune game. Or I think maybe even multiple Dune games.
So according to this, because the article we're looking at right now is from January 22nd. In looking at what they own, and this is weird. Excuse me. This article is from October 4th of last year, saying they already own a 29% stake in Funcom.
Yeah, they already had a stake, and then they wanted to increase that to just purchase it outright.
Yeah, that's not weird at all.
Clearly, they see value in Funcom and increasing their stake there. They also, so talking about, smart investments, when they bought Riot, it was right before League of Legends blew up into this big eSports franchise. So they're making bank off of that. League of Legends is literally the largest eSports franchise. Their whole
as of last quarter, they made 4.1 billion in online gaming revenue, with smartphone games accounting for almost all of that.
Yeah, I mean, people crap on mobile games, but it makes a lot of money.
Plays mobile games. That's what I don't understand, why people shit on mobile games. Everyone plays them.
Right?
Fucking everyone. I have Stardew Valley on my friggin' phone.
Well,
and I have a couple dumbass little stupid games. Like I have Gardenscapes
the
on
same
my phone that
people
I play when I'm bored.
who shit on mobile games are the people who say that playing Bejeweled does not make you a gamer. Hello, it is a game. If you play it, you are a gamer.
Yeah, that's some gatekeeping shit right there.
Yeah.
You're not a real gamer unless you beat Super Mario World on the original Nintendo. You can go fuck yourself.
Right. I mean, that's just like, gatekeeping in anything. People who say, oh, well, you didn't grow up with Star Wars and your first Star Wars movie was Force Awakens. You're not a real fan. I'm like, did you see Force Awakens? Did you like it? Congratulations, you're a Star Wars fan. Welcome. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I see the same thing in the D&D community, even with as welcoming as it is now, with the Renaissance period that D&D is enjoying right now, you still see it with old school players you didn't play advanced D&D back in blah blah, and you're not a real D&D. But shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I've seen people who are like, oh, you started on the 5e edition, you don't know D&D.
You started in 5th edition, you don't know real D&D. You don't understand the Fact Zero struggle.
I was like,
Fuck you.
whatever, get
Really?
over it. Or
I
there are
played
even some
3.5. It was
people,
utter garbage.
there are some people who are even mad if people don't just like do straight up like pen and paper. If you use online tools, then you're not a real D&D
I know
player. And I'm like,
I know people who think you're not playing real D&D if you use any kind of battle map. Like, I've met those people that when I told them, like, oh, I 3D print dungeon tiles and stuff for like immersive maps for my players, like, that's not D&D. Pretty sure it is, bud. Just saying.
the thing with D&D, like, to just go on that tangent, is it's supposed to be made for you to create your own worlds and kind of
Exactly.
make it how you want. It
They
gives you
give
a
you the tool set.
guideline,
Yeah.
but
They give you the tool set and it's up to you to make what you want of it.
yeah. So people who are like, oh, well, if you don't play a specific way, I feel like they miss the entire point.
Those are the assholes that min-max their characters and hate role-playing.
And I was like, but then why are you playing a role-playing game? I don't get it.
Hence, the welcome to the conundrum. I will never understand min-maxers in D&D. You play for the story and for role-playing, man. Let's be honest. My favorite D&D sessions are the ones where no combat happens.
Right? So, but anyhow, Tencent increasing their world domination.
Yeah,
Not sure
they
if
are.
we should be frightened yet.
We're squaring up for the inevitable, like, Thunderdome style death cage match of Tencent versus Disney.
Right?
That's what we're aiming for right now. Like, eventually, everything in the world is going to be 50-50. Half of it's going to be Disney, half of it's going to be Tencent. We're going to duke it the fuck out.
Which one do you think will purchase Amazon and
Disney, 100%.
Well...
You really think Disney would let that slip out of their fingers? They would just integrate their shitty Disney Plus streaming app into Amazon.
Right.
Because, I'm sorry, I like this, a lot of the titles that are on Disney Plus. Their streaming app is garbage.
Yeah. The thing
Holy
that
fuck, it's terrible.
I dislike about Disney owning so many things is that they base so many decisions on like demographic and polling and things by committee and whatever.
They are not willing to take chances at all.
Like,
they don't want to stray from the things they know make money.
Yeah, it's sad. And so I was reading an article about...
There is no art without risk.
Exactly. I was reading an article that was basically talking about how people were displeased by Rise of Skywalker, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were trying to please all these people and basically make it marketable by, checking off all these boxes that they include all these things, versus The Mandalorian, which was made by a couple of nerds who like were deep into Star Wars lore, and they just made a story and pretty much were able to operate on their own, and that has been more well received than Rise of Skywalker, which makes the case for Disney. You need to get out of the way and let the people who know and understand these worlds do their thing.
Disney needs to get out of the way on a lot of fucking things.
Yeah.
On a lot.
I mean, Star Wars is just an example, but that's basically, it describes their approach on all the stuff that they do.
The same argument could be made for Marvel. The same argument could be made for, hell, even a lot of Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Because even Pixar, as much as there's so many films from Pixar that I absolutely love, and my kids absolutely love, even Pixar could stand to break out of the box and take some risks and bring some wild elements into it for storytelling and actually create a narrative that more people could relate to.
Well, I miss old Pixar stuff because they did do new things. And then it became part of Disney. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, let's make sequels of everything.
I feel like DreamWorks is what Pixar would have been had they not gotten bought out.
Yeah.
Because DreamWorks pushes fucking everything. And I
Wasn't
love
Pixar
DreamWorks
part of DreamWorks? at some point,
They're
or
completely DreamWorks is owned. Let me look, because DreamWorks are the people who did Shrek. They did the How to Train Your Dragon.
I feel like they might have collaborated at some point. I don't know. For some reason, my brain is linking the two together.
DreamWorks Pictures is an American film studio. They are owned by Amblin Partners. It was founded in '94 as a film studio by Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen, of which they still own 72%.
Okay.
Their parent companies are Amblin Partners, NBC Universal, and Viacom.
Okay.
Oh god, that means they're owned by Comcast. Oh god.
Everything eventually, if you follow it up, is owned by
God.
some huge company.
6 degrees of corporations, man. I hate it.
That's the world that we live in now.
I hate it. It doesn't allow for growth. It doesn't allow for experimentation. It doesn't allow for risk taking.
Yeah. Well, and the thing
It's
is,
just
a lot of
stuffy
times
old white men in suits in boardrooms deciding what can we make the most money off of with the least amount of risk.
right. Well, so they see something small that's growing, that's doing something interesting, and they're like, let's buy it. And then they ruin it and change all the things that made it successful in the first place.
I go, oh, well, this isn't making money for us, so I don't understand it. It's like it's like asshole officers in the army who just do everything they possibly can to make soldiers' lives miserable and kill their morale, and then they sit there and scratch their heads and wonder why their retention rate is at 0%.
Imagine that. You know what I want to see is if you could create a piece of art based on predictive text, because that's what I feel like these big companies do.
Oh my god. Now I'm gonna try that. Shit. Oh, what did you do to me? That's in my brain now.
You're welcome.
I feel like this is I might start my rant podcast soon. I can feel the rant building inside me.
Just start putting it on the list. For those of you who don't know, that's the planned perk for one of our Patreon tiers. So #ad. All right.
Who wouldn't want to listen to me rant for an hour about shit? I know I would.
Is that seems like prideful, but
oh, absolutely narcissistic. 100%. Yes. That's the point. No one loves me like me.
Lewd. Okay, moving
Take that
on.
how you will.
So, kind of still talking about Star Wars, because somehow this podcast always ends up back at Star Wars.
Always. All roads lead to Star Wars. I actually have a guest star, or a good friend of mine on Twitter who runs a Star Wars podcast. Not gonna name him yet, but we are in talks to have him as a guest star on this podcast soon-ish. TM.
So, in the news of Star Wars, the Clone Wars got a final season announcement and trailer this past week. Which, how long has it been since the previous season was released? Oh god,
it's been years. It's been years. I want to say it stopped. It stopped a few years ago, and let me look. So, Clone Wars. So it was, yeah, it ended in 2014.
Okay.
There was a 2D animated series. There was a 2D animated series which started in 2003 when I graduated high school. Shit. There was a CGI film, and then the series ran from 2008 to 2014. So for 6 seasons, I think.
You do
so,
season
and
year?
yeah, well, and it kind of left it on weird terms, and it's always been a bone of contention because honestly and arguably, the Clone Wars. A solid argument could be made that the Clone Wars were the best example of storytelling within the Star Wars universe ever. Because in all reality, let's be honest, If you like them, cool, more power to you. The prequels were terrible. They were hot garbage on almost every conceivable level. The only saving grace, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's it.
It had its moments that were
It
good,
had
but
its moments, but those were very few and far between.
right.
Very. And the whole, like, 90% of the takeaway for me from the prequels was, oh, Anakin's an emo whiny bitch.
Well,
And, like, we're not seeing the character development that we should have. Like, it's a hell of a jump off from he needs to stand trial, I need him, to I'm gonna kill one of the most powerful Jedi Masters on the council to save this guy's life. There was no build up to that.
yeah.
There really wasn't. And like, and don't mean like Hayden Christensen, nothing against the guy. But the character development for Anakin Skywalker was garbage in the prequels. Clone Wars fixed that and then some.
Well, and for
Like,
those who aren't aware, Clone Wars takes place between episodes 2 and 3.
Between episodes 2 and 3, yes. Where Anakin is a full-fledged Jedi Knight, takes on his own Padawan, a female by the name of Ahsoka, who ends up leaving the Jedi Order later on in the series for her own reasons that, if you want to know, watch.
Right.
But Ahsoka, actually, you can even hear Ahsoka's voice in the little Force montage monologue in Rise of Skywalker.
Mhm.
Ahsoka's voice is in that.
Yeah.
And a couple other characters from Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. But the big thing about Clone Wars, the thing I loved, was that it gave us the character development we needed to connect the dots with Anakin. To
Right.
go, okay, this is why he's like this. This is why he feels like this. And it was so much more robust and so much better storytelling between him and Padme, between him and Obi-Wan, his relationship with Palpatine. Everything was laid out in the series. And it gave us the explanation we needed going into Revenge of the Sith. Like, oh, okay, that's why. They didn't do that in the prequel movies. The explanation we got was, oh, he's whiny and wants to save someone, I guess. We really don't know, because plot.
Right.
Like, there was a lot of things about the prequels that went unanswered. Like the whole, Padme died of sadness thing in Revenge of the Sith. It could very well be that Palpatine was, and we see it in Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine's fucking powerful enough that he could have reached out through the Force and drained the life out of Padme.
And that makes so much more sense
It
than like
makes so much
someone
more sense, but
died
they
of
don't-
sadness.
Yeah, they don't come out and say it. There's like, for reasons unknown, we're losing her, which makes us think, oh, she's just dying because she's sad. What the fuck is that? So, yeah, there's a lot about the prequels that makes no sense and is terrible. And the Clone Wars fills in a lot of those gaps. So
Right.
I'm glad that we're getting a 7th season. I find it funny. So there was a running joke with the Clone Wars for a long time that the writers had to make sure that Anakin and General Grievous never met. Despite Anakin being one of the, frontline generals of the fucking Clone Wars.
Okay.
Or commanders, what, I can't remember his rank. I think it was commander. Either way. But the whole thing was, in the canon, in Star Wars 3, Revenge of the Sith, Anakin and General Grievous meet for the very first time on that ship in the beginning of the movie. So
Okay.
they had to write around in circles to make sure Anakin and Grievous never met.
All
And
right.
it gets kind of hilarious at times, honestly. But if I remember the trailer correctly, there was a moment where Anakin and Grievous like confront each other. So I'm like, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
Don't
So
know.
what I think is kind of cool is I think clearly they're trying to tie what's happening here with the stuff in Mandalorian, particularly the ending.
Mhm.
And so you're getting more of this clear shared universe in a way, with linking up stuff in the Mandalorian with other Star Wars properties. Because right now, yes, there's references, but the Mandalorian kind of, while it references other parts of the Star Wars universe, it could disappear and it would not affect anything else. So I think trying to create linkages in other things is cool. It builds onto what's already there.
Yeah, and the expanded universe is still and will forever be a bone of contention with me with Disney.
Right.
Because I hate that they retconned everything. I fucking hate it. There was so much good stuff and good material in that they just went, nope. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope they don't fuck this up and create more continuity errors, because that's just going to bring more scrutiny down on it. And
Oh,
it
sure. Yeah.
may make Disney back off from doing further Star Wars stories,
Which would suck.
which would suck.
Yeah.
Because as angry as I am about a lot of things with Disney, I will always watch Star Wars because it's fun to me. And I wish that they would do the deeper, more complex emotional stories, because I'm a sucker for that. You
Yeah.
make me cry in a story, you have done your job,
Well,
kind of
I
thing.
think the thing that I hope Disney learned the lesson from with Mandalorian is that people who aren't huge Star Wars nerds will still sit and watch something that's like a deep
If it's a
cut
good story.
if it's a
Mhm.
good story. So you can do that stuff. There's nothing that's stopping you from doing that stuff. Just make it good and people
Mhm.
will watch it. And then they'll
Yep.
go out and they'll fill in the blanks of things that they didn't understand.
It will
Maybe
make
they'll
them
watch other
interested in that
things.
universe to go, "Oh, hey, okay, well, let me go check this out to get context."
Yeah. What does
And
that
there's
mean?
your
Why is this
introduction.
person important? Whatever. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it, I really hope that that's what they took away from.
Let's hope.
Right.
We know that Disney historically rarely ever hits the mark on that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We have to reserve judgment until we see what actually happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're me, I'm going to judge either way.
Really? Hmm.
I mean, I'll never tell you, but yeah.
So, also out there in terms of stuff that is at least exciting for me. So I talked about in my 2019 highlights, the game Control was one of my top two. I actually shortened the list on that one. I only picked two. It wasn't 20, but
Yeah.
there's a writer who has actually gone to Remedy, the developer of Control, and said he was interested in writing a movie script, and they gave approval. I don't know if it's official, but they basically responded and were like, yeah, we're
It
totally
was a
into
Twitter
that.
exchange of like, "Hey, would you be up for this?" And they went, "Totally, yeah, do it."
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's far from an ironclad like contract,
right.
but the fact that the interest and the approval is there means that something could move forward.
Right. So I'm into it. I think it could make a very cool movie. It would definitely be a visually interesting movie, kind of like on par with
Stupid ads.
Inception.
Sorry about that. Apparently my speakers are still going, and there was an ad on that page.
Oh, that's fun.
Cool.
I think that in terms of visuals and everything, it would be something that's like on par with Inception. With the moving worlds and all that kind of stuff. So I think it could make a really cool movie adaptation. You still have a pretty linear storyline that you could condense things down to. So even though there's lots of like side things, whatever, it wouldn't, in my mind, require a whole lot of gymnastics to get it to fit into a story that would make sense in a movie. But
well, I looked into the plot of it a little bit, because this is one of the games I haven't played.
Right.
But I'm interested in looking at it now because of your endorsement during the recap, and it just reading like a brief summary of the plot alone made me go, this would be cool as a movie.
Right.
So yeah, like as soon as I saw this article on the spreadsheet, I was like, oh, well, how about that?
Right. There's enough interest in the story to make its own movie. So that says something. And also the writer who expressed interest in writing something to make a movie is also the same writer who did Rogue One. And that one was actually pretty good.
Also looking at this, I didn't know this. Apparently Gary Whitta, the one who like volunteered to write the script for this, pitched an idea to Twitter for an animated Star Fox movie. Huh.
That's a deep cut. Like,
I'm
who's out here like, let's make a Star Fox movie?
right. Like I want to meet the fandom that's like rallying for a Star Fox movie. It would just be 2 hours of yelling "do a barrel roll" into a microphone if I had my way.
That would be a great meme video. Internet, you have your challenge.
It would be the new "they're taking the Hobbits to Isengard."
I'm into it. I want to see it.
I have to do this now, apparently.
Also, talking about other things that were announced in new seasons, Altered Carbon has season 2 coming out. I loved the first season of the show so much.
It was so good.
It was. So it's coming out February 27th. And one of the big parts of the story within Altered Carbon is that you can change bodies, or sleeves as they refer to.
Yeah.
So the main
I thought
actor,
that sounded just a little dirty.
It does. It totally does.
Just a little.
The main actor is not going to be Joel Kinnaman anymore, who was the lead in season 1. It's now going to be Anthony Mackie, which is pretty cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah. And then it's also going to have Simone Missick, who played Misty Knight in Daredevil and Luke Cage and all of those shows on Netflix, which she was pretty much a badass. So I'm interested to see what she does in this show. And then they've also got some of the same people are coming back from the first season. It's still set in the same world. So, you got to maintain some
Poe's
continuity.
That's all I care about. I just want Poe.
Oh, yeah. Poe's coming back.
The hotel owner.
He is so funny.
He was my favorite character in all of first season. Loved him.
It was like he was he had really weird social skills. But he was generally trying.
Well, he also had that dry wit and humor.
Yeah.
That, like, oh god, I can't even think of his name. I'm blanking. The guy in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They're like butler,
the butler?
Yeah. Like, it was that level of wit and dry sarcasm that I just absolutely
I can see that
adored.
Right.
Like that's well, and I'm also a fan of British humor, so you throw dry sarcastic humor at me, like we're good.
Same.
I'm digging I feel like Altered Carbon is something that could run for a very long time, solely because it has that Doctor Who level of
I was just gonna say that
we could switch out the main character if we want.
Right, it's built into the narrative.
Built into it right there from day one.
I think the only thing that would be potentially limiting is when they go to the flashbacks of Kovacs in his original body, because that actor makes appearances in the flashback sequences, and he's going to be back for this second season also. So if you lost him, then that would kind of screw up that bit a little bit. It's not quite as freeform as Doctor Who.
There's only so many stories you can tell in flashbacks. Like,
fair.
I feel like once you hit a certain amount, like you really don't need flashbacks anymore.
Fair. Or you could always just move on to like a different lead character too.
Exactly. That's also the beauty of a universe like Altered Carbon. We could completely shift the narrative to something completely different and still have an engaging story.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited. The idea of being able to change bodies is also cool, but disturbing in some ways.
No, not disturbing for me at all. Fucking
no. I think
put me in a new body.
I think disturbing when you think about the whole part where they get into the wealthy basically just changing bodies and having no consequences and kind of just doing whatever they want because they can. I think that's the part that's scarier to me. Me personally.
Well, yeah, but That's the
Like, I'd
cyberpunk
be cool.
dystopian aspect of it.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah. But for me personally, yeah, I'd totally be cool with like jumping into a new body and
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that's not even like I wouldn't even question or have any sort of like moral or ethical dilemma with it. Be like, you have a new body for me? Let's do this
right.
right now.
Let's go. What
I
time?
have zero attachment to this one. Seriously. Ugh.
I think the hardest part though would be seeing yourself in a mirror and having to like realize, oh wait, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have an existential crisis or two the first time or two you do it.
Right.
I'm sure.
Until you get
But I mean,
adjusted.
even that you could get used to.
Yeah. But even
I
so, for like
also
that transition period, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's my
Well,
face now.
it's interesting you use the term transition period because I had a thought watching the first season of this show.
hmm
Like, if this were a real thing and you could just upload your consciousness into a new sleeve, a new
hmm
body, what would be the state of like trans rights?
Yeah. I actually was just
Like,
thinking
would
about
that
that.
just not even be an issue anymore? Like, it would just be a thing. Like
People
one day
just
you
change
decide
bodies.
like I want to see what it's like to be a female for a while and just
Right.
upload into that. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the issue of trans rights would just be it would just be everyone across the board would just be like, yeah, it's human rights. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Like,
Like it's just a body.
yeah, it's just a body. It's a thing you do.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you brought that up because I was literally just thinking, like,
Mm-hmm.
would you change?
100%.
I would just to see.
I I actually force and kind of getting off topic and kind of getting a little deep here. I actually for a small period of time in my life, I genuinely thought I had body dysmorphia.
Okay.
Um, like, and I still to this day occasionally will have like serious thoughts of what it would be like to be a female.
Right.
Um, and I have to believe that every human being on the planet has those thoughts from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Um, because I know women who would be like, "Oh, if I woke up in a dude's body, I would just helicopter all day."
I would just relish in the fact that I could pee standing up.
It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. It is pretty great.
And I
Like
mean,
the
like
one thing we
helicoptering
have.
too, but mostly just peeing standing up.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean it's I would definitely experiment. I would definitely like jump back and forth
Yeah.
because I
I
feel
mean, why
like
wouldn't
once
you?
that became yeah, well, like once that became a thing, it's a commonplace. Like, yeah, this is a thing that people do. That's
Right.
it.
And then maybe after so many times, you kind of like settle on the body that you like or, whatever. But at least you would give it a shot if it's an available option.
Yeah.
Why not? All right.
And now I just wish I could live long enough for this to be a thing.
I know. That's my frustration all the time. Every time I see something
I
new in
want to live
science
long enough to see
fiction
crazy shit.
or just even like new technologies that are being worked on, I'm like, oh, but I want to be alive when that becomes like a major thing and it changes the world and we can, like live in
But
space
then again,
colonies or
there are
whatever.
some new technologies that are terrible ideas
Yeah. So talking about changing faces and recognizing your own face, apparently
and terrible things.
more and terrible things, more companies are trying to be able to identify you by your face, and it's getting scarier by the minute. There's
So, okay, so let's dive into this one cuz Clearview AI is a new tech startup that with their app would allow you to take a picture of a random stranger on the street and then be provided with info of their first and last name, their address, possibly other information. Suppose like right now it's not available to the public, but they're saying police officers and Clearview investors think it will be in the future. Supposedly, it's already in limited use by law enforcement right now. Most likely the FBI, probably the NSA.
mm-hmm.
My first question about this app, and is the same question I had immediately upon reading this when we added it to the docket for tonight. Was there not a single woman on this development team? Seriously, was there
Right.
not a single woman on this team that went, "No, this is a terrible fucking idea. This is literally allowing men to serially stalk and potentially do worse shit to women. This will allow, like, if you can just take a picture of a picture, would that allow abusers to find their victims that fled?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many ways that this tech can be abused.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this a thing that needs to happen?
Yeah.
Why is this a thing that needs to exist? Like, I'm reminded of friggin' Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. You were so preoccupied with whether or not you didn't stop to think if you should.
Right.
And this is something you should not have made,
I'm not
bar
even
none.
comfortable with government entities having
Right?
stuff like that. I
Uh,
That is a serious infringement on my privacy.
it is.
And I know that
And
yes, you can be tracked through your cell phone and your credit cards and whatever, but at some point in our lives we have to
there
be
has to
able
be a
to like
line.
have a way to just
Mhm.
live on our own without people all up in our shit. And to make it
And we haven't
possible
even
for anyone to figure out who you are.
and we haven't even gotten into the topic of facial recognition is not an exact science. It could
Right.
return fault. Like, if, like, let's say the police use this app to try and solve crimes, it could 100% return a false positive that could lead to them arresting the wrong person,
Right.
or that info could leak out and the press could get hold of it and ruin someone's fucking life based on a faulty app.
You'd have like a Minority Report situation.
Exactly. That's actually, I thought of Minority Report the moment like 5 minutes after reading this article, I was like, "This is fucking Minority Report. This is the red and brown balls right here."
Right. What
It's
else it
I'm
reminded me of was there is a movie called Anon. I think it was a Netflix produced movie that had Clive Owen in it.
I think it was. Yeah, I remember it.
And so people basically could have implants where you could look at people just walking on the street and it would have like a UI overlaying that, and it would just pop up with like, this is their name and this is what they do and whatever. And the other thing that they did was you could look around and there would be like advertisements on buildings everywhere in your field of vision, even though they weren't actually physically there. But obviously, if we're going to create something like that, there would have to be ads because we can't have
Now,
nice things. But
apparently there apparently there was an update to this article that we didn't see when we initially added this.
okay.
Startup said in a statement Tuesday that its, quote, "technology is intended only for use by law enforcement and personnel. It is not intended for use by the general public."
Okay. But
So,
yeah, it's
but
not
also,
intended, but that doesn't mean that that's not
but
going to
it's
be a thing that eventually
exactly,
happens
shit's gonna leak.
because
Someone
money.
is gonna hold, yeah. Well, someone. I feel like this is something that would make someone literally more money than God if they were able to get a whole source code and sell it to a bidder.
Right.
Like, that is absolutely a thing that could happen. Why
Right.
is this technology? Facial recognition has like an, I think, a 70 something percent success rate at the
Mhm.
best of times.
Mhm.
That is not a viable or reliable tool for law enforcement at any level.
This is definite dystopian future technology.
Yeah. We have hit peak Big Brother at this point.
So people, of course, have been finding ways to try to combat this type of technology.
And it's basically steampunk aesthetic, or
It
like
is.
cyberpunk aesthetic,
It
and I
is,
love it.
which is it's kind of fantastic. So it's basically camouflage using hair and makeup to obscure your facial details from facial recognition technology.
And for those of you listening to the audio only version of the podcast and not seeing the screen, this is basically a bunch of asymmetrical, like, the very heading of this page is a woman with like black bangs with blonde, like, blue extensions that like cover their entire left eye that comes down past the bangs, with like bleach blonde hair on the top, and like the black streak that football players use on their eye but at a downward angle on the one barely visible eye. Like, it's a lot of crazy shit and asymmetrical, like, makeup and hair and,
Yeah, the
like
whole point is pretty much asymmetry and trying
Yep.
to obscure facial features that are primarily used for facial detection. So, like the bridge of your nose and that type of stuff, your eye shape, which is why a lot of this type of thing will have you obscuring at least one eye partially so that they can't detect those things and through the shapes be able to try to match your face up with anything. And beyond
I f
this, there are other technologies that people are trying to create and employ. There are glasses that have LED lights within the frame
Mhm.
that'll shine on your face and obscure your face. There's clothing that'll have a mask that creates like a prism like effect on your face and kind of create this weird distortion.
I can only hope that CD Projekt Red, um, consulted with CV Dazzle
Uh huh.
for the look of all their characters and NPCs in Cyberpunk. Because that's like looking at these
It certainly matches
different
with
pictures.
some of the aesthetic in the
It
trailers.
really, really vibes with that aesthetic. Like, I'm digging it.
So if you're concerned about facial recognition technology,
Just mangle your hair and face.
look
You'll be
up
alright.
CV Dazzle. Not even the specific website. CV Dazzle is just a category now of ways to obscure
Like,
your
that
face
is
from
fuck me
detection.
up fam level right there.
Yeah. And then just of course, people are not going to if you go out on the street looking like this, people are going to look at you a bit crazy. So
And your face may not get recognized by cameras, but you'll definitely get cops called on.
right. There's
I guarantee it.
definitely someone's going to be like, there was a strange individual.
Like,
And
someone escaped the mental health ward, and we don't know what to do.
so take that how you will. Also, talking about the future, self driving vehicles have been a thing for a little bit. There are now self driving trucks and minivans that are currently out on the roads from a company called Waymo in Texas and New Mexico. And eventually planning, of course, to broaden into other markets. So these are long haul trucks. So basically hauling whatever type of stuff between point A to point B. And they're doing it on highways. So it's not necessarily like, you're not going to drive down the street to get breakfast and have a self-driving minivan next to you or anything. But they're condensing it right now into like pretty open and well-traveled trucking routes. And they're self-driving trucks.
I don't know. I am hesitant and I am nervous about self-driving vehicles in general right now.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those all or nothing kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicles like this would function best if 100% of transportation in the US was automated.
100% agree.
To
The problem is people.
The problem is people. People are unpredictable. People do stupid shit. And if a person is in a car and doesn't realize or understand that there is not a person in an automated vehicle that can react on a dime, if they decide, oh, I'm going to fucking cut in front of this truck, what happens?
I'm sure there are probably sensors and things to react, but people still just do dumb shit all the time.
There's way too many variables and way too many things can go wrong. So I feel like, yes, self-driving tech is the future. I do believe that. And I do believe that eventually we will get there to where it's 100% across the board. But I feel like if we're going to do it, we need to not implement it until it's 100%. And we just replace the whole goddamn transportation infrastructure with it.
So I have two things. One, and I feel like I've talked about this at some point in the past, but it might have been a while. I'm 100% on board with self-driving vehicles. I would love to just be able to chill on my way somewhere and be able to
God, it'd
read
be
or
so good.
whatever.
I could take a nap on the way to work.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. I would take public transportation for that luxury if I could, but that's not a possibility for me in where I live and where I need to go. But the other thing is, well, I guess two things. One, I think we should be able to have self-driving mass transit that is in some ways modular and be able to like kind of, you can use an app to like call a vehicle that picks you up and then connects you to like some other mass transit thing that's, you know, maybe like sort of a trainee kind of deal or whatever, to connect you to places that lots of people are going. Like, I feel like it could be much more efficient to the point that people wouldn't necessarily have to own a private vehicle. The other thing is, why are we still using roads?
Yep.
I feel like if we have self-driving vehicles, we don't necessarily have to use cars and things in the way that we do today.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of other options that they don't want to explore because they're trying to use the currently existing infrastructure to influence their decisions and their designs, which what they should be doing is moving on from, because the infrastructure we have right now is fucking crumbling.
It is.
Why would we want to fucking invest more in that when we could just build new shit?
Not only is it crumbling, but it's designed for functional obsolescence. So
it's
that's a
designed to go out
shitty
of date once
system.
better shit's found. Like, that's the whole thing. So why are we still designing things around roads? Let's put shit on rails. Let's put shit in the sky. Like, and let's make sure that it's a
You want an
closed
Uber
network
taxi?
to where, like, well, I would very much prefer like a closed, like, speaking as a network security guy
Yeah.
and like IT industry, please make it a closed network with like a lot of fucking protection.
Oh, yeah.
Because the last thing we need is someone getting a hold of some shit and hijacking a car and rerouting it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that opens up a whole new can of worms.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm totally on board for self-driving vehicles.
God, I have a new idea for a dystopian horror novel.
Ooh. Write it down.
Anyway. Yeah, I need to write it down before I forget it. Shit.
So yeah, there are self-driving vehicles out there today hauling stuff on commercial routes. If you're in Texas or the southern part of New Mexico, you could possibly see them. But
I think this might be one of the only times I'm glad I live on the East Coast.
Yeah, well, I'm in Texas, and that's fun.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
Right.
If you see one, take a picture. I'd love to see it.
I will definitely take a picture because I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's one of those things we saw. I would probably be more excited than I should be about it, honestly. But so keep an eye out if you're in any of those areas where there might be a self-driving vehicle near you. The future is coming. It's very slow. It's kind of rude.
Confusing.
Also that.
The future is not at all what Back to the Future told me it would be, and I'm still a little mad about it. Still a little mad.
Always mad.
I wanted hoverboards, and I wanted all this crazy shit, and we haven't gotten it. And flying cars. Flying cars were a thing in Back to the Future.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's overdue.
I just got to keep waiting.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the cast for this week. Jazzy is apparently trying to contribute her part of the podcast.
Yeah, is that what I was hearing?
Yeah, she has a collapsing trachea and coughs a lot. Baby, no. So
this is why I close and lock my door.
Yeah, so that was a thing, but clearly that did not work. So we're going to have to reassess the plan. Anyhow, that is it for this week. Thank you again for everybody watching and listening. We appreciate you. We will be back again soon. If you don't follow us, however, make sure you're following us at Geekly Newscast on Twitter. And you can also find us on all of the major podcast platforms and YouTube. Otherwise, peace out.
Later.
See you in the future.